I'm sure everybody heard or felt the earthquake and probably heard the tsunami warning that went along with it. But many of you might be wondering, why did the tsunami warning get issued in the first place? And then why was it canceled just about an hour later? Well, let me break it down scientifically for you exactly what happened. First, a little bit of background just to let you all know that 7.0 magnitude earthquake that just happened off the coast of Northern California. What causes a tsunami though? Normally it happens when some sort of underwater disturbance occurs and there is movement of the ground underwater. That creates a vertical push of seawater. That vertical push of seawater spreads as it moves into shallower waters and then gets bigger and bigger in height. So that is how tsunami is created, and normally it happens at a subduction fault line, or one of those fault lines that move up and down. So it has that vertical push. It has some upwards or downward movement, but the San Andreas fault, the fault that our earthquake occurred, it happened on a different kind of fault. It happened on something known as a strike-slip fault or a transform fault, which means that the plate boundaries move next to each other and there's no inherent up or down movement. So it is very unlikely that an earthquake like this would have caused a tsunami. But just because it's unlikely doesn't mean it's impossible, because about 80% of earthquakes cause tsunamis. That's how tsunamis are formed normally. About 80% of tsunamis are caused by those subduction zone earthquakes. But there's still about 20% of tsunamis that are caused by other things, such as underwater landslides. And underwater landslides can be triggered by an earthquake at one of those slip strike faults or one of those transform faults. So that's what scientists were worried about. And because it happened at such a close distance to the coast of California, they had little to no time to react. And it's kind of a rule of thumb that when an earthquake gets to a magnitude 7 and it's that close to land, it does have the potential to create a tsunami, and tsunami waves can move it up to 500 miles an hour. So there was the potential for this earthquake to cause a tsunami, even though that potential was low. That's why the National Weather Service and the National Tsunami Warning Center did issue that tsunami warning all up and down the coast. However, once they got data, they were able to figure out, of the few data centers that they do have, and these buoys that are off the coast only update about every hour. So they had to make a split-second decision, and unfortunately they didn't have the luxury of taking the time to actually get back any observations, because if they took the time to do that and there was a tsunami, it would have already been too late. So they took about an hour after they issued the warning. They looked at all the sites, they gathered all the data that they could, and they officially determined that there was no tsunami threat and they canceled it. But it was one of those better safe than sorry situations. Even though it was unlikely that this kind of an earthquake could cause a tsunami, it's still possible. And luckily this time it didn't, but next time it could be different. So I hope everybody has their evacuation plans in place, because I know it was scary, but we definitely came out lucky this time.